place is, quote, falling apart, it's a mess, and they've sort of lost control. So again, to answer your question about why in this moment is the Department of Justice bringing this indictment, this is part of a lot of different moving parts that we've seen over the last couple of weeks and months that does seem to be an attempt to apply more pressure before there could be additional decisions and moves made by the Trump administration when it comes to Cuba.
Yeah, Monica, you're saying weeks and months, though, Misty, I want to go to you because these indictments stem from an event that was 3 decades ago. So to start, walk us through the charges.
So first you have 4 counts of murder. This relates to the 4 victims, the 4 deaths in this case. Then you have 2 counts of destruction of an aircraft. Then you have conspiracy counts, and this relates to all of the defendants. And this is particularly important in this particular indictment as it applies to Castro himself. Remember, when you have a conspiracy case, it means that all of the defendants agreed to commit a crime, agreed to shoot down these planes, and took an overt act towards doing it. So you don't necessarily committing the crime to be held culpable. This relates to Castro because his role, according to this indictment, is being the head of the military and ordering this operation. So that's something to watch as this case plays out.
Essentially, commander-in-chief.
Correct.
And Monica, back over to you. You mentioned that maybe this is the start of more activity in Cuba. Could we possibly see a U.S. operation similar to the one used for Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, where Raul Castro is arrested on Cuban soil?
Yeah, and there were some pretty telling comments in that press conference earlier when they were asked, well, how is Raul Castro going to potentially face these charges? And the answer from the acting attorney general was, well, he's going to either face them by coming here to Florida or by, quote, another way. So what could that possibly mean? But I do think there are some important differences between Cuba and Venezuela and these situations that can tell us a little bit something about what the U.S. might be considering here, which is when you saw the indictment against Nicolas Maduro, and then the capture and the raid that brought him back to the United States, those things went along together. They happened in a sort of immediate fashion. So that's not necessarily what you are seeing here, at least today. And also, there's a difference in the leadership structure in Venezuela. The U.S. had sort of assessed that Delcy Rodriguez could be somebody, the partner, the interim leader who has been working with the United States since that January raid. And then also there's just a difference in the economies between Cuba and Venezuela and what could happen in that country if there was something similar to what we saw with Maduro as they consider a whole range of options here.
Yeah, and Missy, let's go back to you for more legal perspective on a point that Monica touched on. What would a prosecution of Raul Castro practically look like?
Well, so we're talking about 30 years ago. We're talking about a really intricate investigation. So a lot of what we would see come forward in the prosecution would be relating to all of the investigative materials, much of which had been declassified at certain. That's what we're going to see. Critical issues being one, what we spoke about, that conspiracy issue as it relates to Castro. Another, the airspace. That's been a point of contention in the course of this investigation. Was this over international waters, which is what the United States says? Was this over Cuba, which is what they have maintained, that this was actually an appropriate defense that they took because it was in Cuban airspace. So these are the type of factual issues. If and when this case makes it to trial, if he gets here and the other co-defendants get here, those are the critical issues that a jury would be looking at.
Yeah, and we did have a